Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for yet another episode of Private Transformation Minutes. This is Dala Alfonso, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about building credibility in your relationships. And the focus today, for the last few weeks, we've been talking more about building credibility first with self and then building outwards. And I think that that foundation is important. But today, I wanted to spend a little bit more time and talk about, building credibility outwardly, building credibility with other folks outside. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and just wait here because today I wanted this to be a little bit interactive because I want to cover as much as I can cover today on this topic before moving on to something else, to our new topic that's going to be starting tomorrow, November 1st. So today I want to focus more on talking about building credibility or building credible relationships with others. So I'm just going to take about a couple of minutes to just wait here and just wait for you to join me, and then we can go ahead and talk a little bit more about this all important topic, as it were. So as you join on, please feel free to just say hello or point out your question or something. And I'll just give about a minute here for some more folks to join us, and then we can go ahead and start talking a little bit more about this all important topic. All right, so I will just wait for about maybe a minute or so. Okay, I see a few folks joining us. Welcome. All right. I think we're just going to go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and get started and talk a little bit today about building credible relationships, especially outwardly. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is let's take a minute to go back and look at definitions and try to understand credibility. Why is it so important? Credibility has a lot to do with trust, not just any kind of trust, but rather one that speaks on behalf of the individual that is the subject of there's a subject of this inquisition, as it were. Somebody, you're looking at someone and you want to be able to tell, is this person credible? Credibility goes beyond trust. It goes beyond just knowing what a person is capable of doing, but it goes as far as making sure that you can actually be able to vouch for the quality of work or worth that is coming from that individual. So credibility itself is a bedrock, it's a foundation. It's very, very important for us to understand that it's fundamental to any relationship that would succeed and any relationship that would thrive. So today I want us to start talking a little bit more about what we need to do to establish credibility. The first thing you have to do, and I'll kind of like pull the whole pieces together, both offline and online. And if you have questions or things that you put out here, then I might be able to answer and address some of those questions. But at this point, what I'd like to do is really focus a little bit more on talking about the general context or the general content of what it takes, to build credibility. It doesn't matter if it's, individually or if it is, if it is online or offline, it really does not matter. It's all about the values and the principles are exactly the same. I guess the point we're going to be looking at here is how does this apply to me as an individual? How do I build credibility in my personal life. So I will just take a few minutes here to get into it. But before then, I have someone who just walked in here to say, you need to go get ready. Dad is busy now. Okay. All right. Go get ready. Go take your uniform off. All right. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to get into, or the first thing I want to talk about is what are the things that you need to do to build credibility. And let's start offline. Let's start online. I'm sorry. The first thing is, in order to build credibility online, the first thing you have to do is understand that you are not obligated to go into or enter into any relationship with any person if you are not comfortable with it. Meaning, just because a person sends you a friend request does not mean you have to accept it. Accepting it simply means you're giving this individual or these individuals access to your life. Now, what is the purpose of that relationship? Is it just to have a large following? Is it what is your goal? What are your aspirations? What's your purpose for setting up a social media account? It doesn't matter if it's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is. What is the driving factor behind you setting up that account or having that online presence? Too often people don't think about this, because that in itself is what will determine what credibility would look like to you. Now, are you setting up the account just because you want to socialize, interact, have an online presence like everybody else, and really don't have a goal for it? If that's the case, then by all means, you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, you're fulfilling your objective. But if your goal is to make a difference in the lives of people, which I hope will be the case with most people, if your intent is to create a platform where you'll be able to impact lives, where you can be able to share your faith, maybe sell your product or share your ideas, then if that is the case, then credibility is of extreme importance to you. Why? Because credibility does not only talk about trust, it also talks about capacity and capability to deliver. Now, let's start out with the issue of how do we go about building this one thing called credibility. The first thing is that you need to be clear as to exactly what your intent and your objective is for actually getting into this relationship. But even of greater importance is that you need to know exactly how you want to go about accomplishing this. So the first thing you want to do is, number one, you want to become an authority. Let me use that term. You want to become you want to become solid. You want to become respected for a specific subject matter. Now, the world that we live in is a place that is full of so many topics. Nowadays, you don't have to go too far. Just look among your own friends. You see everybody is a coach. Everybody is a trainer. Everybody is a development expert or an expert in one thing or the other. But does that just having a title does not make you one? In order for you to become credible, you have to become an authority in something, meaning you need to take the time to become informed. You need to study. You need to research. You need to understand a little bit more about that subject matter that you want to speak about. You have to become specific and good at something. Become an authority in a specific area or in a specific matter. Maybe all you do is advise, strangers or on how to solve relational issues, but become good at it, become focused at it. So the first thing you need to do is that you need to become good. You need to become established. You need to become an authority in your field. And what that does is that it gives people confidence that what you're saying carries weight. It is not just some random talk, that you're sharing with them. It has to be something that truly adds value. Yesterday on Saturday, I drove to Chicago, 7 hours from here, and just to attend a friend's event and celebrate his spouse's 40th birthday. And I got in there, and celebrated with them. And during the course of the celebration, a man walks up to me and says, thank you. And I'm looking at him like, Thanks for what? And he said in 2014 you came here, either 2013 or 2014. He said you came to our church and you spoke about finances, and you won't you he said the things that you shared that day have set me free from debt. He said, I still practice them till today. And I'm looking at him. I didn't even know his name. I didn't even ask him his name. But he said that what you taught us that day has set me free completely from debt. And even up till this day, years later, I still practice it. And I saw you and I just wanted to come over and tell you thank you that you saved my life. And I'm just like, and I'm just amazed. To me, that is a validation that the effort and time and energy I put into developing materials that address the question of finances or entrepreneurship, it's actually working. So that is one thing that validates that. And in fact, he even said something interesting. I follow all your private transformation stuff online, so please keep up the good work. And to me, that was really exciting. And then right after that, the event was done at about 9 p.m. and I drove another 7-8 hours back home. I didn't get back home till about 3:30 a.m. this morning, and of course by 8:30 I was back in the office. So it's very, very important for you to understand that credibility takes time. You have to build it, and in order for you to build credibility, one of the things that you need to do is to become an expert in your field. Number two, it's become social proof, and let me explain what that means. What that essentially means is that you cannot just get sucked into everything. There's some things that you cannot post on your page. You have to be careful about what you put out there, because don't ever forget that what you post on social media is subject to personal interpretation. That means the individual who's receiving it is entitled to what's the word I'm looking for? Is entitled to interpret. Let me keep it simple. It's entitled to interpret that content or that material however way they choose. So when you're posting things out there, you have to be careful. You have to be careful what you put out there. You just don't post everything. You just don't share everything because everybody's sharing. You just don't like everything because everybody's liking. Just because you personally find something funny does not necessarily mean that you have to repost it, because everything that you put out there in public is always a reflection of who you are, whether it's a joke or not. There are some things that I come across on social media that I think are funny, or that I think are hilarious, or that I think I can relate to. But I also understand that the general public may not be able to fully understand that. And so because of that, I tend to just share that material with maybe one or two very close people and keep it at that. But you cannot, hey sweetie, I'm okay. You cannot spend your whole time, just posting and reposting everything that you see, and you cannot just engage everybody. Now, talking about social proof, now the other aspect is you also have to guard yourself, which is point number 3. You have to guard yourself. Not everybody that wants to engage you in conversation that you should engage with. Too often you have to find people who have a similar interest, or people who you think would add value to you, or folks who you think you can add value to, and then connect with them and become accessible to them, have conversations with them, relate with them. Why? Because it's all about relationship. If people have access to you, they will realize that, I can depend on this person. This person is becoming more real to me. This person is not just a figment of my imagination. A lot of times, by the grace of God, I've had the opportunity of going to a lot of great organizations, churches, businesses, and too often, because of the size in most cases of some of these organizations, you don't have there's a protocol or a way that things are done that does not allow you to interact with people that you meet. And that is a way to try to protect, you know, you as a guest, and also your time, and all of that. And so some of these people try to reconnect with you on social media, and I'm in the habit of always responding personally to posts or whatever people send to me. To me, it's just a way of saying, hey, I'm accessible. Now, that accessibility does not necessarily mean that I have all the time in the world to be speaking to 100 people and be, you know, having to tell them how my day was, how my family is, how my kids are doing, you know, what did I eat this afternoon. No. I try to guard my time. So yes, I will be accessible, which is important, but at the same time, I'm also a good judge to determine, is this conversation going anywhere? And in most cases, if I realize it's not going anywhere, I get straight to the point, ask you, what can I do for you? Or why did you contact me? Because so that I will know, let's get to the point, because the pleasantries are getting a little bit too long. How are you, sir? How is the ministry? How is the kids? Great. Let's get to the point. What can I do for you? You know, because sometimes you just want to move on and do something, and I don't want to cut you off, you know, if I'm not sure as to what it is. So it is important for you to become established in what you do. One, it is important for you to become social proof, meaning that don't engage everything. Be very clear about your message. Be more focused. Not everything that you feel or think goes on social media. Number three, it is important for you to be accessible. You have to be accessible. You have to be available for people to reach out to you. And the next point I want to make is the point of being the message, being the greatest message. See, if you want to talk about, let's talk about this. If you want to talk about healthy living, then you have to be living healthy too. You want to talk about wealth, then you have to be wealthy, or at least you have to be creating wealth too. You want to talk about faith, you have to be walking the walk. That's the bottom line. You can't be an expert. It's only nowadays that you see people who are experts in wealth creation and they've never created wealth all their lives. You see people who are experts in relationships and they don't have any functional relationship in their life. You know, one of the benefits and one of the things that I enjoy about this Private Transformation Minutes is the fact that it is uncut. This is me just sharing my life's experiences, my life's work, the things that I have been through, the things that I have seen, the things that, you know, have shaped me and made me who I am today, because I think that is very, very important, you know, because the greatest thing that validates your walk, the greatest evidence that you can give to anyone for the things you do, are your life's experiences themselves. So it is important for you to walk the walk, have the proof, have the education, have whatever it is that is necessary for you to be able to stand tall and be an evidence and proof of what it is that you want to teach. Number 5, it is very, very important for there to be consistency in what you do. Once people, you know, here in the US, we have these things called geysers. You know, it's kind of funny. It's funny that on Facebook, I saw a post that a few people put out about, I think there was a geyser that was pumping out of the earth, like water just spouting out of the earth. And there were different comments. And I think some of the comments were things like, oh, God is great, you know, a waterfall that from the sky. But it's not from the sky. It's there. I mean, come on, it's you can see. Maybe people are not informed as to what these things are. But to me, I found it really, really interesting to see that, you know, people are talking about things that basically portrays a level of ignorance, you know. Now, why am I talking about geysers? Let me get to my point. I was talking about geysers because here in the US, if you go to several parks, we have one geyser that's called Old Faithful. The thing about Old Faithful is that you can literally guarantee to the second or to the minute, just a few minutes apart or a few seconds apart, when that geyser is going to spout out. Why? Because it is consistent. People come from all over the world to go see Old Faithful. It has become a tourist attraction. Why? Because it has built credibility over time, that it doesn't matter what year, what time, what day you go there, Old Faithful is going to show itself, is going to prove itself. So it is very, very important for you to also understand the importance of consistency. Consistency is one critical element that you cannot eliminate from building a credible relationship. Another thing that I want to add, I'll call this number 6, is you have to surround yourself with the right relationships. Okay, there are some people that you should not be friends with on Facebook or on social media. You may not even know who they are, but by their fruits you shall know them. The kinds of things that they post, because you read their posts. Sometimes their posts find its way to your feeds, or they tag you or something, and you see things, and all of a sudden, these folks are posting things on your page, and folks are beginning to react to you. So you have to be sure that you surround yourself with the right people. You have to be sure that even offline and online, your relationships will often define who you are. You're right. Being friends with somebody on Facebook does not necessarily make you their friend, but in real life and even on social media, it is important for you to connect with the right people. You understand? I mean, there was a time where I had close to about 4,000 people or friends on Facebook. I took time off, because when I first set up my account, everybody that sent a request, I just accepted them, and before I knew it became a mess. So I took time, and I probably deleted unfriended close to 1,000 people. It took a lot of time. It was painstaking, but I had to do it just to maintain my sanity and clear up the clutter, so that my social media account can make more sense, so that when I pull up my page, I want to see something that is either refreshing, or at least that adds value, or I can see somebody posting something that I can laugh about, or I think that makes sense, or I can share, not having to see somebody's post and then I have to start pleading the blood of Jesus over my eyes, or whatever it is. So it is very, very important to make sure you surround yourself with the right people. Make sure that you guard your sphere of influence. Another thing I would like to point out is that spend time. Invest in relationships. People don't realize that investing in relationships does take time. It's not sprinkling just some little bit of time on it. It takes time. It's a consistent thing. Sometimes I spend hours talking to certain people, not because I have all the time in the world, but because I realize that I'm adding value. I realize that I am learning something. I realize that this is a person that has a place in my life, in my destiny, in my future. And so I invest in that relationship. In fact, in my case, it's as serious to the point where I have certain people on my phone, on my calendar, with reminders that say, give this person a call. And I may not even get a hold of them when I call, but I might just send them a text message or saying something, say, hey, I was just thinking about you, how's your day going? Or I can just give them a buzz later on and say, hey, just calling and leaving you a voice message to see, haven't spoken to you in about a week or two. Why? That is investing in relationships, and you can do that both online and offline. There are people who I leave such messages for online, there are people that I leave same messages for offline. So it is important for you to invest in those relationships, and those investments are not just time investments, but you can invest. Sometimes I visit with people, I travel to different countries, and I bring books, I bring gifts, I bring stuff. And now, if you know me very well, you'll find out that I'm somebody who does not like to carry. When I travel, I try to, all that I want to just carry is what's pertinent to me, just my shoes and clothes and stuff that I need for that event or meeting that I'm going for. I don't want to pick anything else. So, but half the time I find myself carrying stuff like books and gifts or things that I buy for people who I'm trying to invest in that relationship, not because I necessarily have to, but I realize, I read this book and it made so much sense, so I'll get a copy of that same book because I'm going to see a friend, maybe in this part of the world, and I know that he may not have access to that book, and so I get a copy and just be a blessing to him. And that in itself builds that relationship to the next level. Then another thing that is important is that it is always critical that you don't make everything about inwardly. It's all about you. You're not the author and the finisher of your relationships. you are part of it. So give people the opportunity to express themselves, and also get to learn a little bit about them. What do they do? What are their interests? What, get feedback that will be able to help you add value also to that relationship. So it is very, very critical for you to understand some of these points, that it will add a lot of credibility to your relationship. So if you focus on doing some of these things that we talked about, you'll find out that both online and offline, you begin to build credibility with those within your sphere of influence. It may be people who know you personally, maybe people who don't or have never even met you, but over time they will realize that this person is consistent, this person is giving, this person is caring, this person knows what they're talking about. This individual is informed, this person is not self-centered, it's not self-seeking. All those things automatically begin to add value. So I will strongly encourage every one of you that is watching me today to find ways, not just ways to build credibility within your offline circle, but also on your online circle, because the world that we live in has become so integrated. It's becoming smaller and smaller. Nowadays you will spend a lot of time talking to somebody in Japan, talking to another person in the US, talking to another person in Nigeria, in Ukraine, in Canada. In the same day, you talk to them on social media, and without leaving the comfort of your bedroom. So we live in a very, very even though the world is global, it's becoming smaller and smaller. So pay attention to those relationships, build credibility, pay attention to your circle and those people around you. Pay attention to the things that you post, because too often the things that you post online, you think that that's where it ends. No, it goes way beyond that. Everything that you do offline and online, our lives have become greatly integrated. You cannot, there are just very few areas where your online life and your offline life are separate. So once again, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Private Transformation Minutes. Today, I just wanted to take the time, like I said, to talk a lot more about what it takes to build credibility within a relationship, both online and offline. And I'm hoping that some of these nuggets that you've learned today will be able to help you become a lot more credible, help you establish the trust, the drive, and all the things that you need in order for you to have a successful relationship all around you. So I will be back tomorrow. We'll be introducing a brand new topic tomorrow as we continue our Private Transformation Minute, and I would love to hear back from you. Like I said, I love feedback. I want to hear how this program has been a blessing to you, how what can we do differently that will be able to add a lot more value to you. And don't forget, post this to your timeline, to your share this on your timelines, share it with your friends, and let them learn also together. Remember, the goal of Private Transformation is to share principles with you that would help you to be able to change the way you think, the way you act, so that once you are changed within, you can be able to start influencing and changing the lives of other people around you also for the better. So thank you so much for joining us on today, October 31st, the last day of the month of October. We have about 61 more days to the end of 2016, and I hope that we can spend this last sprint to start discussing things that will lay a solid foundation as we step into 2017. So thank you once again. Post this to your timelines, share, and let other people know about what's happening on Private Transformation. So thank you, and I will look forward to being with you again tomorrow. Have a good evening.